Hey guys, it's Living Vibrations here, and I just want to take some time today to tell you a couple stories about things that have happened in my life. You know, these are personal stories that I've actually gone through. So just take a second, sit right back, and we're going to dive into some stuff. These are my friends, Douglas. This is Gregory. Sometimes we cuddle. It's a good thing we got 10 years about this girl. And she went to a church that I used to go to, the one I first got saved at, but or truly saved anyway. But she was at our house one day. We were going to a Super Bowl party later at our church, and she'd been telling us about the stories, and it was crazy stories, you know. And she's not one that would just tell things, just make things up. It made her really uncomfortable. Like, you could tell in her face. There was a cat. Her cat was sitting on her bed at night, and she was sitting on a bed just like this reading. You know, the cat's over here, and so the cat just jumps up on all fours, and it looks at the doorway. The door is cracked already, and it just follows something with its eyes, like straight in front of her, and she has no idea what to do. She sees the cat, like, it's hissing, hair standing up on its back, and she just closes her eyes and says, "Please take this from me." And she knows who she's praying to, you know. And the thing just disappears, and the cat sits back down, starts licking itself, and everything's cool. So, and there was another story too about maybe like her being tormented in dreams and stuff at night. Like, there was things that she had felt at night and stuff like that. But that was like one of the craziest. That was one of the more crazier ones. So I was like, this is serious. We're gonna go to church and we're gonna pray for you tonight before the Super Bowl. So we get to church, right? And she's being weird when we're there. Like, she's acting super weird. She doesn't say much. She's just kind of like, you know, standoffish. And so I see John. He's the man he's one of my friends that was like kind of the head of the group or whatever. And he was an awesome spiritual dude. And so we're like, hey man, we told him the story, and he's like, yeah, let's go get her. So I go get her, and she's sitting in her chair, and she is just like being super weird. I'm like, hey, let's go over here and talk to my man, and we're gonna pray for you real quick. And so she's kind of like, okay, and like, it's very weird. And so she gets up and she comes over there, and there's like, you know, 10 of us or so standing in the circle. And I'm standing like in front of her, and you know, John is over to my right, and he is just talking to her a second. He's like, so we're gonna pray for you, is that okay? And then she says, no, you can't have her, and just looks him right in the eye. And I guess he didn't hear the "you can't have her" part, because it was just like, he was, you know, because he was confused by the no, and he was just like, okay, that's fine. Like, I thought this is what you wanted. That's, I mean, you know, like, we're not gonna pray for you if you don't want us. We're not gonna pray for you if you don't want us to. But I heard it, and I'm sitting there like, uh-oh, this is about to go south real quick. And then she says it again, but a little louder, and she says, no, you can't have her. And so at this point in time, John hears it, I hear it, and he's just like, under whose authority? And it just starts laughing and smiling, and it, like, literally, I'm not lying to you, her eye was like all pupil, like it was completely black with just like a little tiny sliver of color, and I'm not lying to you. And so as soon as she starts laughing, after he says under whose authority, he says, because in the name of Jesus. And as soon as he said that, man, she goes, ah! Like, scream, the loudest scream you've ever heard in my life. Like someone had, you've ever heard in your life, like someone had stuck a hot knife in her back and was just spinning it in circles and twisting it back and forth. I'm talking like blood curdling. Like, if you've never heard that, if you've heard that phrase before, like, this was that, like, you know, like to a T. Like, it was so scary. At that point in time, about half the people that were gathered around kind of, you know, were so scared they kind of screamed or whatever, they, you know, and they left. And there was about 5 or 6 of us still around, and she fell to the floor, and we just put our hand. This is the first time I had ever dealt with anything like this. I had heard stories from my dad, but, like, you know, and heard stories, you know, from movies or whatever. And I put my hands on her, and John put his hands on her, and we start praying for her, and she's like, her body goes so tight, and she's just like, not convulsing, but she's just like writhing, I guess you'd say, like, you know, like a snake with its head chopped off, like just writhing within her. It was her body, all her muscles were so tense all at once. And then, like, so we're praying for her, and like eventually, you know, she gets up and she has no idea what happened. The last thing she remembers is coming to the church and feeling like she needed to leave to leave the church, and that's the last thing that she remembered. And then the next thing she knew, she was like, you know, getting up off the ground, and we kind of tell her what happened. So there was some more stuff that happened after that, but you know, and then there was you know, there was another time too that happened with a man in Honduras when I went on a mission trip, and the same thing happened. I had prayed for his back, which later got healed, which was awesome, because he was like, he couldn't move it barely, couldn't bend over really well, and so he was on the ground on his knees, and I just kind of went to, you know, show him some love and say, hey man, like, God's gonna heal your back. I was maybe gonna pray for him again if his back hadn't been healed yet, and so I go down and just put my hands like on his shoulders, just like right here, and just kind of like just barely grab. And I went to, you know, you know, poured some love energy into him, you know, and like with the touch. And as soon as I did that, he tensed up, and I knew just from my prior experience and through the Spirit that God was speaking to me that there was something attacking this man or in this man that wasn't supposed to be there. So this long thing went out. As soon as so at first, the first thing I did was I said Jesus in his ear. And I said it in a way that was kind of like mocking him a little, not him but the Spirit in a way, because I was like, Jesus, like that, like, and it was fun. It just came out. I didn't even plan on it. I just said it like that, and then I started laughing it as I was saying it, because it was so beautiful. Like, this thing had no power over that name, you know. It was just awesome. And so, you know, God comes up, and he not God, of course God's there, but so the man falls down. I praying for him, telling he's a child of God, all this stuff. I get up, I go and help the missionary's wife to where the kids' place is, you know, like a block away. Come back, God's like, you need to keep praying for him. So I go back in, I start praying for him again, and he does the same thing, falls out, and he has no idea what's going on. He wants to see his family. His wife walks over, doesn't even recognize her, and I pray for him again, and he looks up with this like just look of the only hope I'd ever seen I'd seen in his face all night, at this railroad tie, big huge cross hanging on the back of the, you know, pulpit, whatever you would call it, on the back of the stage against the wall. And he's like, I need to touch that cross. I need to. And he could barely walk. He couldn't get up. We were trying to lift him, and his knees weren't working like well, like his legs were like going limp. And so this dude was like 6'3", 6'4", probably 250 pounds or so, I'm guessing. I don't really know. He was heavy. Like, I just pick him up underneath his arms and drag him over to the stage, and it's like, you know, probably 4 steps up, but it's just a straight vertical thing. It doesn't actually have steps. So I lean his upper half onto the stage. I get up onto the stage and grab him underneath his arms and pick him up and pull him over to the stage, and there's a speaker in front of the cross, and I just lay him over the speaker, and man, he just looks up at that cross and grabs the bottom of it and just starts weeping like a little baby. It was amazing. And so me seeing those things, feeling those things, it's impossible to tell me God doesn't exist, you know, because I've seen him, I've prayed for people, and God has healed them. And so that is possible for everybody. Everybody can do those things. He gives it to all of us when we accept him. You know, we just have to believe, and we have to pursue it and actually go out there and pray for people. You know, but the main point of this, though, is this darkness, right? This darkness exists out there. And it's not scary if you know who is the light of the world, you know, because we understand that darkness has no power. That's why I hate those paranormal activity movies and stuff like that. I just hate them. I hate them so much, because it's like you go in and it's like the movie, and it's like, you have no hope. You have no hope. You know, like a priest comes in, he's like, I have no idea what to do here. I tried everything I could. You're basically screwed. And then they end up dying, and everything bad happens, and no one can help them. And it's like, that's not how it is. That's not how it is. You know, I mess up all the time. I'm no perfect person, but I guarantee you, if someone said I had a demon problem, you know, I would go in there and be like, yo, look, this ain't working. You need to bounce, son, because that's the reality of the God that we serve. There is no light in his, there's no darkness in his light, and there's light in me, so there's no darkness in me. You know, if there were, how great would that darkness be, right? So, you know, that's what people tend to forget, especially these New Agers. It's like, where's, you know, you serve all these higher, you see all these higher spirits, these higher consciousnesses, where's the evil at? If you have all these good things, where's the bad things? It's like, you know, and they might have them. Maybe I'm not researching it properly and stuff like that. But the only thing I ever hear, you know, people talking about is the just all the good things out there. There's so many of them, you know, and I just don't want people to forget the main thing about darkness is have no fear. You know, there is the truth and the light. He protects us from all of that stuff when he's inside of us. You know, the things that are happening in this world, I mean, like crazy things like the Mandela effect, like freaking, you know, what the frick is that? You know, like I'm talking like, you know, all this crazy stuff you see like the Illuminati or whatever doing, and like the higher powers, the elite and the government and all these things. Like, have no fear. You know, our battle isn't even of flesh and blood. So when we see these people in the government, when we see these people doing these things, these celebrities, and they're, you know, partaking in this stuff, you know, and we can obviously see it. It's like, don't hate that person. Don't call them a demon. You know, it's like they're fighting a battle just like you know, and they're in fear. You think that they're happy, but if you're in that world, they are enveloped in fear. There's no way not to be. So just remember, there is evil and there is good, but the good is so much more powerful than that evil, you know. So don't ever forget that there's people around you that may have things attacking them and things pulling them in directions, and they don't even realize it's happening. And it's up to you to be like, to use your spirit sense, you know, to use God to help you see when these things are happening. Because it's no joke, you know. You know, that man in that church, he had no idea what was going on in his life. He had no idea. I didn't know. I mean, when he gave me I thought he was kind of a D-bag or something when I first looked at him, because he gave me this look like, you know, his chin was held up, and like, you know, he gave me this look, but like, you know, that was just my flesh, you know, trying to, you know, hate on somebody, and we gotta, you know, suppress that too. And that girl, like, she'd had those experiences, but she had no idea that was already inside of her and had taken root. You know, like, sometimes it's hard to understand, you know. And so we just have to remember to always seek the truth, always, and to always love, and to always, you know, try to be the light in the darkness, because the darkness isn't going to drive out the darkness. You know, it's impossible. But if you're the light on the hill, and you're shining into people's lives, into people's hearts, you know, if there's any darkness, it'll make itself known. Living Vibrations signing off, guys. Hope you have a good one.